still alive here. Balotelli, Anquira! Scores it quickly, Origi!
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Cool Down for Liverpool, that is. Today we've got everyone in the house. So we've got Coach Nick, the coach of the Tuks student side, and now from what I've just said, I think this is just coming in. He's also assistant coach of the first team now. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I'm not officially an assistant coach, but I will be working with the team in a coaching capacity. So if you want to call it that, I won't say no. But yeah, I'm super stoked to be working with the professionals. Try and help them, get up the table. And if I can assist them, that will be great. I probably won't be at match day with them because I'll have my own team, but yeah, midweek and coaching the players that don't make the match day squad will be my sort of job description. So happy with it, and hopefully we can see some good results.
Right. That's great news. Congratulations, Nick. We've also got Dengasaurus Wonga, the Denganator, aka the mascot stand in there for Arsenal. Arsenal had a bit of a tricky weekend there, Wonga Dengs.
It wasn't tricky. The rest made it tricky for us.
That's a fair assessment. In the bottom corner, we got Mossa, the Tooth Fairy, Al Magico, the Chelsea Tooth Fairy. I don't know, you guys, one day you're going to have to sit down with him just so he can tell you why he's called the Tooth Fairy. And that's largely, he claims it's got
it's a long story, Claude.
Yeah, he claims it's got to do with Maradona, long story. And then we've also got, of course, if Mourinho was English, a lot shorter and lactose intolerant, he'd be Matinho there in the corner. Thank you for joining us today, Matinho.
Hey guys, how's it going? It could be a fun one.
Must say, I'm loving the introductions. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my mic's doing. So thank you for spotting that. Whoever said, is my sound sounding better? Yep.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, that's much better.
It does.
Yeah, so it sounds like the changes were real, bro.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, guys. Yeah, it was an interesting week of football. But before we kick off with the Premier League results, there was some big news that came out yesterday, and that was Sundowns and Tuks collaborating and the potential that is behind this sort of statement. So seeing as we do have Nick in the house, we are hoping Nick could give us the ins and outs as to what may or may not be happening, if you're allowed to say. We know you're not Liverpool FC, so we know we don't have to prove any questions before asking you.
Yeah, I think this has been, from what I understand, this has been in the pipeline for a long time. I think a lot of you that have been at Tuks or have actually sort of played there, you can testify that it's probably, in terms of Africa, I don't see any other facility matching it. The facility has 10 football fields, they have 2 gyms. They have the disposal of all the sports science and rehabilitation at the facility. So I personally think there's an opportunity for Sundowns to sort of take advantage of that, but to better engage the wider sort of Tshwane region in sort of their social responsibility project. I think obviously they're not gonna put money into a program where they're not going to get anything out of it. I do foresee the academy sides making use of the facility, potentially growing their broader youth system, and then I don't know the ins and outs in terms of what figures are there. I don't know what control they have on the club specifically. I think we will find out in the next couple of days. But it's obviously a very exciting sort of initiative to be rubbing shoulders with sort of Sundowns and their coaching staff and administrators. From what I understand is we are going to learn from them, which is always great. They have proven that they are the best, if not in South Africa, maybe in Africa, in terms of what they've developed and potentially pushing Al Ahly all the way. In terms of the African continent. So, yeah, I think for Pretoria and Tshwane itself, I think it is a great collaboration where they can feed off what the university has in terms of expertise. And then I think for us as a football club, we get to to engage one of the best in South Africa, and if not the continent.
Nick, I echo that sentiment that it's been something that has been going on in the pipelines for quite some time, because I remember when we were growing up playing for the Tuks, like academy structures, club structures, there were several murmurs about potentially Sundowns coming in to either take over their facilities, purchase them outright and use them for themselves, or kind of like do like a field share type of arrangement where they come in and actually use a space as per use.
Yeah,
is that
I think if you look at it, I think if you look at it, I mean, if you look at football clubs in South Africa, there's not many of them that have their own training facility. I mean, you look at Orlando Pirates, they use Rand Stadium. I think Naturina actually only became prominent in the last 10 years. Clercorp's been there also, but I think probably from the early 2000s. So in terms of your training facilities, your own stadiums, I think there's always been a shortfall in South African football. And this is obviously another piggyback sort of, I would say another piggyback sort of situation. But when you've got Patrice Motsepe's money, you can do whatever you want. I don't think Tuks would ever say no to this, because I think there is a possibility for us to grow our own program, collaborating with a big club like Sundowns. So from what I understand from the press release, there will be their reserve team training at our facility and playing their home matches here. From what I understand, their first team might make use of our stadium, which is, I think, a very much, it's a very cool stadium in terms of football. It's not your 60, 70,000 seater stadium. You'll pack that stadium out. You'll get about 20,000 fans in there. And I think that's the sort of level that the PSL need to be looking at in terms of getting crowds in, making it look like a glamorous product on TV. Because right now you go to Lucas Morepe Stadium and only one stand is maybe half full. I think those sorts of initiatives, I think Tuks is also closer to Mamelodi. It's Mamelodi Sundowns. It's not, I know their history does start off in the West, where Atteridgeville was their home. But, you know, to bring in the broader community of Mamelodi, I think it is easier for them to have that connection with Tuks. So I think there will be a use of the facilities. I think they'll be rubbing shoulders in terms of our sports science departments. And then also, you know, I think there will be a possibility of getting there. I've had a meeting with the Sundowns youth about potentially getting some of their players into study in the next couple of years. I was hopeful to get a few in now this year, but unfortunately their marks weren't good enough. So I think they're trying to fix certain processes which they've probably skipped in the past, and then working with an institution like ours. You know, I can give you an example. My boys that I coached in under 19 last year, everyone passed. Everyone got university entrance. I looked at Sundowns players specifically. I think only 2 or 3 got in. So there's a bit of a bridge to gap there in terms of, you know, not just having a footballer, but having a footballer who can actually also do something else with his life.
It's a very exciting initiative, man.
Yeah, Nick, you know, yeah, man, I mean, on paper, it seems fantastic. It's just it's a case of, for Tuks as a football club and possible professional aspirations, whether or not those are there, maybe this is just too lucrative of a deal to turn down, where they're getting paid for facility usage and possible collaboration with cross-pollinating the players, like you said. But from the aspirations of the football club, is it something we got to worry about, in a sense that because if Tuks do have any good talent, like that you guys might be wanting to bring up, or in the case of the first team, you have 1 or 2 good players, Sundowns are there all the time. The possibility of them signing, they're going to have pretty much first right to refusal in signing the players. So you're going to lose them quickly. And I don't see the Tuks board being opposed to that either. That's the question. So aspirations of a football club, I mean, that's the question I've got for you.
Yeah, I don't personally know. Listen, I can't speak from my position, but I think personally, you know, I've had my views on how the club should be run. I feel that how we were in the past, I'd say when we were breaking into the PSL, potentially challenging for the NFD initially, we were a ground for, you know, producing youth players and making money off them. So I think that's the status of our football club and what we should aspire to. I think we should be developing with our youth system the best players possible to make our first team and potentially make a profit off them. And then the cycle should continue. So I don't see Sundowns. I mean, obviously there would be an agreement where, you know, there's further money exchange if players are moving across the river, if you want to call it that. But I personally don't think, you know, Tuks are in a position to say that they're going to challenge for the PSL in the next 10 years. I don't see us. I think that we should be going down a different avenue where we supply in South African football with the best players. Not to say that we don't have the capability to get into the PSL, but, you know, there are 3 big players in that PSL, maybe 4, with your Super Sports, your Sundowns, Pirates, and Chiefs. You can't compete with the money that they're talking about. So, you know, you got to also humble yourself down and find your place. And I personally think that Tuks have a great opportunity here, mixing with the best, you know, learning from the best, potentially having access to some of their fringe players, getting ourselves into a position where maybe we get promoted. And, you know, if our best players go on to play for Sundowns, me as a youth coach or a development coach, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I would be the happiest coach in the world to see one of my players one day playing for Sundowns.
Do you guys think that if the Sundowns fans and stuff are coming into the grounds now and they're using that facility as a match day venue, do you think Tuks will somehow benefit off that? So some of the fans might be like, oh, yeah, this is kind of like our feeder club. Let's stick around and support I'm a Tuks boys. Do you guys think that's a possibility? Because if so...
Potentially. I mean, potentially, yeah. I think there's been talk in the past that, you know, maybe, you know, Sundowns wanted Tuks, you know, as sort of a feeder or a reserve team. So, you know, if their players aren't ready, they go and play professional football, but just in a league below. And that's sort of the feeder into it. I have no idea. The collaboration is a 5-year collaboration. You've seen these collaborations disappear after 5 years and you never hear from it again. So I think the proof will be in the pudding, and I think a lot of things still need to be explained to all of us. Everything is speculation. I'm telling you what I know, and a lot of the things I'm telling you is sort of speculation itself, you know. Just from our perspective as coaches, I wouldn't say we're skeptical, but I think there's a lot of questions we want answered, and we're excited because I think there's an opportunity to learn and there's an opportunity to grow. And, you know, ideally, you know, you're putting yourself in a framework where, you know, we have an opportunity to maybe impress our own bosses, but, you know, potentially the biggest team in South Africa.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant opportunity for both staff and for players, because, you know, you do get that spotlight to being the biggest team in South Africa and arguably Africa at this point in time. And that's very exciting, whether you're coming up the ranks or trying to break it into a professional mold. It's a perfect
100%.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's so the point where you said that in terms of the youngsters, in terms of Tuks being, I mean, let's say producing talent, and I mean, given also, I mean, that I think that works both ways. It works well for the club and for the players. If that is their focus and their goal, then I mean, for them it's sort of limitless, because players don't. I mean, soccer's played everywhere around the world. I know with COVID now it's a bit difficult, but when you're over that, it's. I mean, you can take players. I mean, I know many guys looking to go to US, and there's also studying opportunities there as well. You also get most of the time, if the players are good enough, you get scholarship. Helps the family out as well. So yeah, it's a big win-win situation if that's what you're aiming for. I mean, I know like Benfica as well. I went a couple of years back, and that's they focus a lot on producing players, and I think a huge. I mean, I think that's their business actually. That's what they said. That's their business, is producing players. Yes, they got the guys winning. They try and stay top of the log, but their focus is producing their players, and they're able to stay above because of that. Really,
I think that's where maybe Tuks should be focusing a lot more of their energy, as opposed to like necessarily looking to compete with Sundowns and the likes of the Big Four, Big Five in the country in the PSL. Potentially, the University of Pretoria could focus on developing young stars that come into this football fraternity and are qualified and are professional and are, elite performers on all fronts, which would be exciting.
Yeah,
because you also have the sports science supporting it as well.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think from what Patrice Motsepe had mentioned, I think also just close off, is the opportunity to bring in kids from Mamelodi directly into the facility, because there's no facilities. Well, there's facilities in Mamelodi, but there's not good enough facilities. And I mean, if you've got access to 2 pitches, let alone 10 pitches, it's a lottery for them. So if they can bust those kids in, they get coached, they go through a full program. There's a clear pathway to, right now, either an Tuks first team, a University of Pretoria Varsity Cup team, or potentially a Sundowns first team. So I think, if they can put their money where their mouth is and sort of deliver, there's an opportunity for young kids, and hopefully the benefit of it will be seen soon.
Yeah. Very cool.
Oh, that's some good news. One last thing though, Matt asked before if you were actually late for the show because they were busy fitting out a new Sundowns tracksuit on you then, Nick. Is that something?
Very, very far from that. Very far from that. I've got a lot of work to do. We drew our first league game, so I was a little bit disappointed with that. So I think if we can get off to a win, get 4 points, win on Saturday, I need to just focus on my job, and then, whatever happens. But right now, obviously focused on the job at hand. I've got 3 trophies to win, and hopefully I can win them.
Yeah, you better. Otherwise, you're not coming back on this show. All right. Let's talk about someone who's...
But Stevie Bruce might take care of that part.
All right. A team that isn't winning trophies right now, in the first game that we're going to talk about, because there's an early kickoff on Saturday, Burnley 1-1 versus Arsenal there. Wonga, a lot happened in this game. A lot of Arsenal fans not happy. What are your overall thoughts in terms of how they played, the players and everything, pretty much, the refereeing decisions?
I mean, when we started the game, I think we started well. Like I said before, in fact, when we started this, we started well. And then, I'd say you're dominating the game. I mean, I was saying, oh, geez, thank you. This is going exactly.
Hey.
Wow.
We lost him. Exactly how you wanted it to go.
Yeah. Like an Arsenal game.
Exactly that, yeah. Then, goodness me, Shaka, who knows what he was thinking. Yes, trying to be too smart. Hey, it's just thinking about it again. It's just frustrating. I mean, the one lady. First time I saw, I don't know what her name was. I just saw a quick snippet on the Sky Sports Instagram. The lady was saying that she was about to tell the guys that when they turned over to her, she was about to tell them that Arsenal are dominating, they're looking good. And then Shaka literally passed the ball to the. I mean, it was a lucky deflection, but I mean, that pass was murder. Going right across your goals, not being sure about it, trying to be fancy about it on your weaker foot. That was just murder. And I think from there, it killed us. We can.
Can I challenge you quickly?
Where's the bounce?
Can I challenge you?
Yes.
My problem starts with the goalkeeper, because that man is being pressed and he's about to run into his own small box. Why is the keeper even risking it? I don't understand. You guys have been caught out already this season. You know what I mean?
No, it's true.
That ball needs to just go into one of the fullbacks or into one of the wingers. Shaka has that moment of flipping madness. I understand. It is also his mistake. But that guy's getting pressed so tightly. The only pass he can really make is probably back to the goalkeeper. But like I said to you, he was so close to the goalkeeper already. I don't know. I thought Leno could have done better. But I agree with you.
Man United.
The invasion
Oh my goodness.
has arrived. The invasion.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Nick. Sorry. You're getting relegated anyway. Sorry, guys. I was on a presentation giving my 2 cents about money, and I felt bad that I could see the time, and I was like, I'm talking a bit too much. Can I speak faster, or am I cut what I'm going to say? But also, what I had to say to these people,
especially after a winning weekend like the one you've had, so
yeah,
you need all the time you can get you.
So it was people who just started working, and I was just trying to advise them on finances, and man. But yeah, Nick, are you getting relegated?
Hey, bro, it's hot here. Very hot here.
We're talking about Arsenal. Yes, it's struggling, man.
Arsenal. I thought I heard Nick speaking. I'm like, it's Newcastle, man.
No, I didn't.
I had an opinion. I
agree with you, Nick. I do agree with you, Nick. That does definitely start with Leno. You should have. To be honest with you, should just got rid of it. You know, what do you lose? Just at least you're not conceding a goal. You up 1-0 up. But then, and also looking at Willian, also didn't have a bad game. Willian also, he's. I've also been critical about him, but I'm just accepting. He is what he is. He says he's got 5 assists. So I think it's not what I wanted out of him, but it is what it is. But then now the penalty decision, and folks, I know we can go on this forever. I can go about VAR, but for me,
you don't need VAR for that one. That was blatant. The Oak sticks his arm up and he's going to. That was one of the most blatant things I've seen. I don't know why are you shaking your head there, Matt. You saying you're disagreeing with that?
No, because it's like when Spurs dropped all those games. Like against Newcastle, we were also done by a weird, the exact rule of the handball or whatever. But you make your own luck. You shouldn't be in a position where a lucky goal with. Or you're relying on a VAR decision against Burnley. This is where you've got to kind of take responsibility and be like, it's a bad decision and it affected this particular game, but you should never be in that position. Arsenal was so dominant. The first 20 minutes just looked like it was going to be one-way traffic, just like Spurs against Burnley. We came away from that game 4-0, and you're just thinking, what's gone wrong here? Why are they not killing games out? And it's almost like I watch those games, and it felt like for most of the season. Most Arsenal games, it doesn't seem like the players really listen to Arteta. He seems to have a really good game plan, and they go out there, and then it's like something goes wrong, and then they all just wander off and do whatever they want. It's
they capitulate.
Xhaka will be like, well, I'm bored now, so I'm going to go kick someone, and they got too many players who don't stick to the game plan. They just want to run around and do their thing.
How can it be tough for them to not come back in that type of a situation? They've created the opportunity for Burnley, and they don't have that bounce back effect where they come back and actually show some character. It's like they see one thing go bad and then they decide to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, for me, look, I think, the decision itself. Yeah, I guess the guys don't. From there, everything goes downhill. We're dominating the first bit, but you can say we don't put yourself in that position. But for me, and I'm not arguing. Just for Arsenal's sake, but for me, it's just. It's ridiculous how 1 week Fulham get a penalty. It's very confusing. You just don't understand how this thing works. 1 week Fulham said that their goal is disallowed and the guy's hand is literally on his thigh.
Yeah,
and then the next. Remember last week's the one I remember when Celo when I complained, and then Celo I said that the guy didn't the ref why did he have to go check it, and then Celo said no, the refs actually go check because last season they were complaining about that. But then with Arsenal's one handball, and the ref didn't go back and check, but it's things like that. You just don't understand. I'm not saying in terms of Arsenal, 100% I agree with you guys in terms of that we should have, even despite that decision, that's a game we should have won. Based on the first 20 minutes, that's a game we should have cleaned up shop. But I'm just saying VAR on its own, it's incredible. Against Chelsea as well, they don't give the that one I can understand. The guy's hand is out. They don't give because you're not too sure if it's really above your shoulder or not, so you can't give the penalty. But then Arsenal's one, there's no one else that disagrees with it.
But just to retract it though, this is the same. But this is the same ref who sent off a Burnley player for the ball hitting the shoulder in the same game. So I think his mind was all over the place with regards to like what he was doing, what he was giving up.
But look at that. But look at that now. You see now, for me, when the ref gave the red card, okay, my cousin was just like, "Yo, it's a red card, it's off." But I was like, and I saw the players also complaining. But I was also like, sort of relaxed. I don't know why the players are going mad. I was like, look, they've got the VAR. Let them go check it, you know. And so they went to go check, and they made the right decision. You know, that's why I was like, I don't know what the commotion is about. If he's wrong, then the guys will overturn it. And surely he was wrong. And I can understand the ball was flying at the kilometers. I mean, you can't really see where it really hits. At fast pace, it looked like it was a clear handball. The guy's last man on the line. He's probably thinking. But then the VAR said, no, that's not the case. But in our case, what happens? They go check and there's like, it didn't touch his hand.
But that's the problem, and it's all about this whole the person who's looking at the VAR is a person. They're interpreting and say, hey, listen, ref, go and look at this. I think you might have missed something. It's a handball. The person who's looking in the VAR booth, he doesn't think it's a handball. So then you're disadvantaged because the person interpreting is interpreting wrong, and you can't blame the ref because the ref doesn't think it's or missed it. You know what I mean? So you have to blame the VAR person.
And I feel like these VAR people are refs, man. They're also super conservative. They're not gonna make wild, outlandish calls as their nature, like that other referee, where they always ask his opinion after the game. It's kind of
Dermot, yeah.
They always just echo.
But Dermot, you are Dermot said. Dermot said he doesn't. He says, okay, no, it looks like a penalty. It looks like a penalty. What? But then he said the reason they probably didn't give it was because of proximity. What are you saying? So you're telling me now he's trying to get someone to put the ball on his chest? What are you saying? That's a handball.
But dude, he literally linked in with his arm. That was the irony. Out of all the handballs this season, that was one where he's actually coming in, flying with his arm. Like, it's bizarre. But okay, enough talk of the VAR thing. One guy. What I want to ask you is for the rest of the season for Arsenal, do you think it's a case of him possibly playing your Shakas and playing these other guys and actually because let's be honest, man, what you're pushing for an 8th place, possibly and I hear there's another league that they're starting. There's like Champions League, Europa League, and then there's going to be something Europa Elect or some other bullshit.
Europa Conference.
Conference. There we go. Yeah. Castle Light.
Did you see they tagged Liverpool in that? They said, "Hey, Liverpool."
You've got international football.
If you go on their Twitter handle, they said, "Hey, Liverpool."
It's gonna be funny seeing Mbappe playing that league. Yeah.
Going forward though, I think. So for me, I think I've said it before, Xhaka. Like when he made the mistake, I mean, I've always said that his mistakes end up being maybe it's bad luck. I don't know, but I've never liked him as a player, you know. And they said he's made 8 mistakes leading to goals this season, the most any player in the midfield, you know. And that's
he's not even a defender. I mean,
that's what they say. So that's very concerning for me. And some of the times I think not even the mistakes, but sometimes like he could, come back, but he's too slow, try and cancel things out.
How many assists has he got this season?
I don't know.
He's made more goals for the opposition than he has for Arsenal.
No, it's true.
He scores a free kick and then he tweets and he's like, "Guys, I'm the best. Everyone shut up." And then he does that and then he goes quiet.
Yeah, you see, so for me, I think Arteta, they definitely like Xhaka. They've always said he's in integral part, blah, 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 blah.
Nah, I don't think
honestly,
so.
I think if Xhaka... No, that's what they've said. No, they've said these are his words.
But he's saying that because he's got no one else to play. I think Arsenal in a situation now, personally speaking, I think they need to ride out this season. They don't want to qualify for this Europa or whatever Nick said it was. You don't want to qualify for that. Let him play these players. Let them filter themselves out. So he can go to the board and be like, look what Xhaka's doing. Yeah. He's shit. Look what Williams doing. It's not helping me. So then he can actually say, look, you guys trust me. I know what I'm doing as a manager. You guys can see what I want to do. But the players aren't carrying out what I want them to do, like Musa was saying. I think that's where Arsenal are right now. And that's what they need to do is just play it out and just flog the players at the end of the season. That's what it is. And maybe, I don't know.
It's a difficult one
But
because
look at the value diminishing on those players. What are you going to sell Xhaka for at the end of the season? You wouldn't get a Steve Bruce for Xhaka at the moment.
And you got also Pepe as well. As well, 72. You definitely no one's gonna buy him, especially where he's. I mean, look, he's going.
Realistically,
he's playing well
how
now,
much is he
you're
worth
not getting
now?
him for
But
that
how much
price.
is he worth? But how much is he worth?
Now?
Everyone, how much do you think? Yeah, Pepe.
Sheesh,
How much would you pay for
what
this
you
guy?
base these things on. How much would I pay for him?
I'd
Look,
pay
he's got a
10
lot of
72
potential.
already, so
I'd pay 30
everyone
You
knows.
could
million
trade him
pounds.
for Werner, Mossa.
30 million
No,
pounds.
hell no. Thanks, but no thanks.
No, man, at least Pepe hits
But
the back of the net.
Wonga, did
At
you
least
guys,
Pepe hits the back of the net.
boys,
Musa.
Yeah.
boys, did you
Yeah, but
see?
fair,
Did you see that?
maybe Werner doesn't hit the back of the net.
That suicidal. Did you see that
Yeah.
suicidal miss by Pepe when the ball comes across his body and he uses his left foot? He's so one-footed, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ball
But how
comes
many
in the
left
6-yard
footers?
box. He's got an open goal, and he just needs to slot that with his
Yes.
right foot. It
All
goes in.
left footers
He
are like that,
completely
guys.
fluffs it.
90% of
Nah,
left
it's
footers
nonsense,
would
man.
do that though.
Mm,
Yeah.
Nah, but you've got you worth
Messi.
what 70, 80 million pounds.
Gareth Bale.
Nah, come on. man.
Almiron doesn't have a right foot to save his life.
Yeah, but Almiron's fighting a relegation battle. He doesn't play for Arsenal.
And he didn't cost 72 million pounds. All right. So before we move on, Wonga, overall, your last thoughts on this game in particular, do you think it impacts them moving forward?
Yes, it does. Last time I said it, what we need is consistency. And you go lose games like that. And Shaka's been saying, no, he's doing well. And just after he said he's doing well, I mean, decision like that, for me, it was clear. I understand Leno put him under pressure. But if you're getting a ball like that, that's just hoof it away. Even go for flipping corner, bro.
But, sorry, Wonga,
but
what about Chambers tackling Caballos there at the end, where you can win it?
You know,
you can
Chambers,
snatch it.
let me tell you, Chambers, I heard Chambers.
By your own man.
Chambers,
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but I mean, they were going through Arsenal saying who the good players were and what their strengths were. Then Chambers, they said he's a good lad. That's how they started. He's a good lad. I mean, if that's
Good lad.
if that's what they're saying about you, he's a good lad. You know, soccer-wise, it's not. It's late for him. You know. And when they get
Soccer-wise,
Chambers,
he's a bad apple.
they put
I'm
Chambers on. I
actually
was like,
thinking
oh,
about
good
this.
Lord. Yeah.
Burnley have actually got the better of you guys this past season, huh? They've collected 4 points out of 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said
Sure.
And it was that thing.
Yeah.
Who said? I think what's his name? Richard said it as well. They said it would have been. I can't know how many years. It is if the last time Burnley did a double over Arsenal, probably in the 90s. It was a long time ago. But they even said it before the game, and always when they say these things happen.
It's an Arsenal
Things
thing.
do happen.
Oh.
Things do happen, but it didn't really happen for Newcastle on the weekend. Settle. You can actually do the introduction for this one. You can do it. You take it away. Take it away.
Nah,
That's a lot of
guys.
points.
Yarra, man. That match, guys. Devoid of quality. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Guys, the only quality is the only quality in that game is Pereira and that big, I think he's big Senegalese striker for West Brom. Apart from that whole game had no quality at all. Poor. You wouldn't think those teams are struggling in relegation because no one was trying to take it by the scruff of the neck. Cool, I understand that Newcastle don't have their good players, but still, guys, come on, try do something, try go for it. But I think Newcastle would benefit from that striker from West Brom, man. That guy, he's always there in the box. He's trying to do something. Jolinton,
but they've got Andy Carroll, champ.
Aye, man, come on, bro. We need to move forward and not go backwards. You know what I mean? But it's not looking good for Newcastle. But the only benefit that there is for Newcastle definitely is the fact that you're not the only team being brought back into the relegation fight. So it's you, Brighton. And Burnley. Let's say those three teams are included with obviously Fulham and West Brom. So those 5 teams.
Southampton aren't too far either. I mean, realistically, they're 6 points.
Man.
Southampton are 6 points. That's
They
2
got
games.
quality. They'll get a couple. They'll get
2
enough
games,
points
guys.
between now.
Their next game is Man City. Their next game is Man City.
Which
How far is
relegation
Arsenal
team?
about this thing?
We gotta check it.
No, they got
check
their
it.
38 points now. That draw took them to 38. They've probably done enough to survive.
Yeah, well, they've reached the mark. They've reached the mark.
Yeah,
The 38
they're on
point mark.
38 now. They get to try again one more season.
So Arsenal are Wonga. Do you know how many points you are ahead of? Arsenal's on 38, and then Fulham's on 26. So 12 points.
Yeah.
12 points. Ah, you're
guys.
safe.
12 points.
Wanga, you made it, sir. You made it.
You made it. You're safe.
You're safe.
The guys are safe. But yeah, Nick,
Yeah.
what is their hope, Nick? 'Cause
Yeah, but listen, I can echo. I can listen. I echo your thoughts. To be fair, maybe slightly biased, but if you look at the first half, I think Newcastle had all the chances. Second half, probably West Brom had more chances. We probably could have killed the game off. We had a couple of one-on-ones, guys not squaring the ball when there's a flipping open man. I mean, the game plan to an extent worked. So we played with a diamond with two wide strikers and left them up. We gambled. We went 2v2 at the West Brom were fine to go 2v2 at the back, and we would suck them in. And Willock, fortunately, he's a half decent footballer. Him and Shelby would get on the ball and unleash these players. But unfortunately, we don't have the quality up top to make any difference. You know, we don't put the ball away, and it comes back to hurt us because Steve Bruce finishes his interview and he says that was a well-earned point. But then Fulham go and play at Anfield. And was it at Anfield? It was at Anfield.
Yeah.
And show like they fighting for their yeah, but they fighting for their lives. You know, they showing that they want to stay in this league. But we've got there's just no sense of urgency, and he didn't want to change the system, so we made one sub, and then he put Andy Carroll on for 20 seconds. And for me, I think that's a kick in the teeth. We do laugh about Andy Carroll, but if you actually watch when he gets on the field, he's the only one who's actually fighting because he's a supporter of the club. Maybe he is limited, but you get the ball into the box and he's going to give you something. What is given 20 seconds? What are you trying to get? You're trying to earn a point away from home against a team that's conceded, that has a goal difference of -36. We haven't scored against Sheffield United and West Brom. We have the worst goal difference in the league. Behind Leeds or just behind them. Like that is for me, that's inexcusable. Unfortunately, it's just looking more dire and dire because your Fulham's not losing at the moment. They're just on such a good run. And I thought Claudio would have fucking helped me, and I thought Wonga, you would have helped me, but you guys didn't. So
on your own
couple of games.
Only person that helped you was Leicester, man.
Yeah, but for me, the only glimmer of hope we have now is we've got Villa at home, who they've had a good season, but they are up and down, to be fair. You can catch him on their day. And then the game after that, Brighton away from home is huge. And then we've got you, Matt. We've got you at home. We got you at home, and then we got Burnley the week after. So the next 4 games are going to be pivotal in our survival hopes, because after that you got West Ham, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester, Man City. So it's looking really, really
might get
hard.
something against Liverpool though.
Might get something against Liverpool, but
if it's at Anfield, you definitely will get a point minimum.
So just to add quickly, it came out today. The Sheffield Wednesday posted their financials for the year or the season, and in that figure, which was a confidential figure, they published what we paid for Steve Bruce: £6.5 million to get him out of his contract. £6.5 million. You don't even pay that for some players. It's unbelievable. And can I just ask you your guys' opinion? If you've ever seen a manager that's won 2 games in 17 and still keep his job, I just don't understand it. It's actually a joke.
Yeah.
It's actually they take him. The club is actually taking the piss.
Yeah,
2 games in 17 matches.
They should. If you want to save
that is unbelievable.
If you want to save the season, appoint that new assistant, man. Appoint him to take
the for me, I said it already. I think how many games do we have left? 11 games or 12 games?
10 or 11.
I think it might be 10 or 11. I think it might be too late. I don't know. I don't know what's better. I don't know if we stick or we stick with it or we change. I think it might be too late. The only glimmer of hope is Brighton is just as bad as us. Brighton are just as bad as us, and I think Burnley will get sucked into it. I don't know. It's going to be a slog to the end. I just hope they say Callum Wilson. I would play Callum Wilson half fit right now. Just to get something.
So what is it? A muscle injury or what?
Yeah, it's a hamstring injury or a quad injury, something like that. So they say he might be back by the end of March. So that means possibly against Burnley, not Burnley, against Brighton, and potentially against Spurs. So I don't know. It's looking very, very tiresome, and I just don't see any hope. And Steve Bruce seems to think that everything's hunky dory when he's boxing with players at the at the training ground. I just don't understand. I don't understand how he's robbing a career. He's absolutely robbing a career. It's disgusting.
He is.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
So but that's my vent done.
Who do you guys think will get relegated? So Sheffield, and who else, guys?
West Brom.
Brighton.
Also must be.
I think West Brom needed to beat us. I think
and
they've
who else?
done.
Yeah, I think.
I just don't. I haven't been watching enough of Brighton, but Brighton's form is the worst out of all four of us. All three of four of us.
They draw too many games. They look good and then they draw. I remember the game against Palace, right? They dominated that game. They dominated Palace. What does Palace do? Last kick of the game, a cross comes in. Christian Benteke, top bins, and then 2-1 they lose.
What I can tell you, what we have and what Fulham started to develop over the last couple of weeks is we've got an Everton performance in us. We've competed with some of the bigger teams in the teams that are doing well in the league. We've somehow snatched like some half decent results here and there. So we've got that in our locker when our best players are playing. But unfortunately, we don't have our best players. So you're relying on Jolinton to do absolutely fuck all week in, week out. You've got next to no chance. So I don't know. Pray for us, lads. Pray for us.
Let's pray, man. We want you back on the show next year, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm praying for.
I don't know what you're gonna do. Claudio, you have a contingency plan here. You're gonna have a Sky Bet Championship segment in this or?
Surely you have to.
You'll just have to get a new shirt, mate.
Yeah, I think the only thing funnier.
Not a bad idea.
If Newcastle get relegated, the funnier thing would be the lads that started their own Brighton channel. That's doing quite well, might I add. But if Brighton get relegated, then they might be covering it from the Sky Bet Championship. So that would be quite funny, in my opinion. Something that's not funny for me, funny for everyone else. Yeah, I mean, what, six straight defeats? Yep.
The fortress Anfield
has fallen. It has fallen.
Who was it? Who you guys now the mentality midgets? Is that what? Setting records, you know.
Matt, you'd recognize the mentality midgets, wouldn't you? Because it's your eye level, that one, eh? No? Huh?
Hey, I'm untouchable this weekend, mate.
Hey, geez, no. I think so you feel as tall as Bales, what you're saying then, eh? That's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah, exactly.
No, guys, I think Liverpool at this moment in time, they are broken. They are a broken side. I mean, when I'm looking at pretty much the starting lineup, it's an interesting one. He's made changes to the team necessarily. So the changes were obviously for the Champions League coming up, which is tomorrow, which fair enough, and also advised from his sports science team. I've got no problems with that. The only issue is when you're playing 4-3-3 and you're playing players in the system that doesn't really play to their strengths. I feel like that's the issue that I have. And I think when you're taking on a Fulham who is playing 4-4-2, why not just take them on man for man and see where you get up? I mean, the worst case scenario is you guys lose at Anfield. I mean, that's kind of what happened, right? So I think that first half we had the two youngsters at centre back. We had the Reece Williams and Phillips, and then we had Nico Williams on the right. So I mean, young defensive sort of setup. Obviously, they're capitalizing on that right-hand side because Shaqiri was playing far right. Shaqiri wasn't coming back to help. So you kind of really isolated Nico Williams. And I thought, personally, Mo Salah was also isolated up front. They should have just played Jota up front with Mo Salah, supported the two, put Milner on the right and swung Shaqiri out on the other way, playing more in the midfield on that side, as opposed to you playing him top right of the front three. The man's got no pace. You're getting absolutely nothing. All we had was a long ball to Mo Salah. So from that perspective, my frustration was we weren't reacting to the scenario. And as a manager, you kind of need to get on it a little bit from that perspective. But, at the end of the day, they came out second half. There was a bit more urgency. And the biggest issue for us, obviously, the goal was scored from Mo Salah's mistake. Again, the irony is the guy bitches about getting taken off, and then he makes a mistake that leads to the goal. But the biggest issue for me was, we come out, we do all right, second half, we're creating some chances, it's looking good. We're actually going down through the middle. We're not reliant on the wings and anything like that. They make the changes, they bring on Trent, and all of a sudden, we've got our David Beckham in the squad, and everything has to go down the right and swing it in, and it just gets cleared out every single time. It's what we've been seeing for the last 6 or 7, 8 weeks. I don't even know how many weeks. When the teams are sitting deep like that, we can't do anything else. We've got no other options. I mean, you completely nullify Salah. He's not technically as sharp or tight in the box, so you've got no pace that you're utilizing there. The same thing happens with Mane on the side when he comes on. So for me, it's like, the club, look, we tried starting Goal Lounge last season, and Matt and I did a show. And before we covered that season, we spoke about, who could win the league realistically before Liverpool won the league. And obviously, clear favorites were Man City. And one of the things that we both agreed upon was that Liverpool, given that they didn't have any injuries, given that they stuck together and it just worked out for them, they could challenge. And unfortunately, this season is they went for a gamble. They didn't sign 1 or 2 players that they probably needed to. They didn't have the preseason, and the injuries that hit us. And now we've kind of become a bit of a victim of the scenario environment where every sort of little knock is taking a bigger psychological effect than what it should be doing, and the players aren't being able to pick themselves up, and that's currently where we are right now. So talk about a collapse. We are broken right now. So it's interesting. The only benefit we have is tomorrow is the Champions League. Pick up some confidence with the win, and maybe we get something. But apart from that, I think the league's a write-off for us. The league, it's gone. Chelsea's cruising at the moment, top 4 positions, completely out of sight for us, personally speaking. We just need to try and not lose. And put all our eggs right now in the Champions League. But also in the Champions League, we're going to face who? A Bayern Munich or a Man City. Currently, we're flying. I know Manchester United did away with them on the weekend. But for us in the Champions League game, I don't know.
Is that
anyone
what
else?
the draw is?
No. I'm just saying realistically. Those are the sort of teams that Liverpool would be coming up against. And the only benefit we have in those sort of scenarios, is that those teams will come at Liverpool, and then we can start playing to our strengths. That's the only benefit we have. Right now, if you're sitting deep, what's the stat? It's Burnley, Brighton, Fulham, West Brom. It's all the teams in the bottom half have come to Anfield and have done the job on us. It's madness right now. We've gone from one of the best teams ever to one of the worst title defending championships. The only positive I'll take out of that is the worst title defense ever lies with Chelsea and Leicester, both only collecting 37 fewer points than they did the previous season to be crowned champions. Right now, we're sitting on 41 points. So I think if there's something for us to play for, it's not having that title. That's where I'm at as a Liverpool fan.
Chelsea and Leicester.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much.
Tough times never last, but they're definitely lasting with you guys, man.
Yeah, man, it's just difficult, man. And also, you just throw, like I said, one of these things where something negative happens, it's actually 10 times worse than what it should be. The loss of Klopp's brother, the loss of Alisson's father. These things are all unprecedented in a season, really. And then also, you've mentioned centre halves. How many? Best case scenario, Van Dijk never injured, right? You've got Joe Gomez. Yeah, he picks up his injuries. Also, previous injuries were from collision, not personal stuff. And then Matip. So if you're going to go gamble and say we're not going to sign a centre half and get rid of Dejan Lovren, by the way, then maybe you should be all right between Van Dijk and whoever else partners up with him. But in this sort of conundrum that we have, it's just one of those. And for us as Liverpool fans, I think we're writing it off, focusing on the next season. That's all we can do, really. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment.
Just to also mention here, I think one of the things that we are overlooking is the awesome story that Fulham are writing for themselves. You know, they were written off. A lot of us on this show mentioned earlier in the season, they're gone. It's not, they can't win it back. And they've really turned it around. They've put together some fantastic results. And I mean, I was thinking last week how Spurs game against Fulham, like we've had a really good couple of results, but we only got 1-0 against them. And it was a bit like, oh, that could have gone, you know, it's a bit annoying. But now seeing how well they played against Liverpool, actually our result looks pretty good in the end. You know, getting a 1-0 result. They are playing some fantastic football. And the belief that Scott Parker's got in that side is amazing. I think if they do end up surviving after the position they're in, I think that's going to be one of the big stories of the season. And, you know, I think we mustn't also overlook what they're doing. I don't think this is the same as West Brom kind of scraping a result at Anfield. I think Fulham came there with belief and determination and they, you know, obviously you guys have got your situations and defensive problems and all of that, but don't kind of understate what Fulham have done here. They're playing some awesome football.
Did anyone else
I've always liked Scott Parker. So
they could have scored more goals, guys. My favorite player was on fire on the left wing there, guys. Ademola Lookman, guys. If you know, there's certain players in that Fulham team, guys. I could pick 6 players in that team and say these players deserve to be in a top 10 team. From that captain Anderson to Lookman to Lemina to Maja now, they've got good players.
But they didn't look that way at the beginning of the season. They have grown huge.
True.
The first half of the season, they did not look like players who deserve to be in the Premier League.
All I'm hearing, guys, here is Matt is building up his future Scotty Parker Spurs manager. I think that's what he's kind of angling here. And to be honest, I think he would be deserving of that. I mean, given he needs another 2-3 seasons in the Premier League, but I think he will get there in the end. And I love how he's come out also saying, you know, he's learning as he's going, and they're getting better, and the team's doing the same. So yeah, fair play to Fulham. And I think they know that I've got a soft spot for them, and I've watched the game at the Cottage. So I think Liverpool, like, let's do them a favor. It's not like we're pretty shit right now anyway. So let's just give the points. And
who do you want to stay at, Fulham or Newcastle? Be careful with what your answer is.
Well, you know my answer.
let's just say, Nick, if we all chip in, can we buy you a Fulham shirt? And in that way,
I'd be more than happy to contribute there. I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. Yeah. But enough about Liverpool and the sort of torrid time they're going through. Let's talk about a team that somewhat destroyed a run that was on course to break a record, world record, might you add. Man United, Man City, Celo. You came on making a lot of noise. I think it's your weekend to make a lot of noise, man.
Yes, go for it.
I only had one job to do today, guys, and that was to make myself available for this show, guys. Whatever possible, you know. Because hey, man United did the job, and you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, guys. When under pressure, he does the job. When under pressure, he does the job.
This is very different to what you've been saying about him.
No, but I've said this before about when he's under pressure. My prediction was a draw for this game. I didn't say we were going to lose. I never said we were going to lose, because I knew that Solskjaer somehow was going to get a result. So my prediction was a draw. And when he's under pressure, he does well. But it was a fantastic performance from goalkeeper to striker. I can't fault their performance. Luke Shaw, man, what more can I say about Luke Shaw, guys? Best left back in the Premier League this season, and he's proven himself to get back into the England team as well. And he just needs to stay fit. You know, he's done so well this season, scoring goals, assisting, creating chances. He's got, I think, most chances created. He's in the top 5 in Europe for most chances created, which is amazing for a left back. Yeah, man, and it was just a good team for performance, guys. I can't fault anyone except for the passing of Fred and McTominay, but otherwise everyone else did their job. Martial turned Diaz and Stones into man, like, I don't know. Those guys looked like knockoff defenders. He hurried them. He turned them in and out. You know, he was busy. His pass completion, I think he only misplaced one pass. He held up the ball so well up front, and he wasn't supposed to even play because he only had a fitness test a couple of hours before kickoff, and he passed the test, and he added to the game as one of our best 3 players on the day. And yeah, man, I think it's a the victory was sweeter because it ended their run, and I think everyone in the Premier League wanted that run to end. No one wants Man City to now have records of most consecutive wins. You know what I mean? So we did a favor for the rest of the league, and also for ourselves as the biggest team in Manchester. Manchester will and always be red.
Tell them why.
And that's three victories at the Etihad for Solskjaer, guys.
Yeah. So that was an interesting stat.
Yeah, he's the only manager who's managed more than 3 against Pep, who's managed to win more than he's lost. So he's got a bit of a hold over Pep there, Ole.
Pep has only lost 4 games. He's only lost 4 games at the Etihad. And those 3, I think, are against Ole. 3 out of the 4.
Yeah, exactly. So someone was saying that Man United should appoint a new manager, and then Solskjaer must just come in for the matches against Man City and go away.
Assistant manager there.
Like in American football, where they've just got that specialized kicker who just comes on to kick the ball. Like Solskjaer's that guy.
So he just has one job: 2 matches against Man City the season. We know we're going to be guaranteed some points, you know.
So, Marcelo, I got a question for you there. Like, the results all good and well, and obviously it's similar to how I would argue that Liverpool are geared up at the moment as well. When a team's going for Liverpool, they do far better than when a team sits deep, and that's similar to the issues that United are having. So when they're playing against the City, I mean, it's perfect, right? But one of the things I will comment on is that Man United definitely looked the hungrier of the 2 sides. They literally gave it all. And one thing I was really impressed with was how brave they were I know the counter-attack is sort of their whole game plan, but how brave they were when they were doing it. When they were breaking, there wasn't 2 or 3 players that were front. They were getting 4 or 5 guys into the box. So they did. They put some serious pressure on Pep Guardiola. And again, he doesn't have an answer for it. Musa, I don't know if you want to comment in terms of Pep Guardiola. Is this his blind spot, or do you think it was just the case of Man City players themselves somewhat having it in the back of their minds, the records on the line, they've lost previously to this side, they didn't come out guns blazing because they didn't look as sharp as what they normally do?
Yeah, they didn't look as sharp as what they normally do, but I have to credit Man United for actually performing to the level that they performed at, because as you mentioned, like Man City weren't getting into those positions where their right full back and left full back were pushing into the middle of the field and dictating play for the rest of the players to fly. And that was a masterstroke from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know, they came with the right game plan. The early goal helped their confidence, helped them.
100%.
Yeah, and
changed the game. The early
I was
goal,
expecting
right?
City to come back at the back of that just to be a bit more pumped up, but then it seemed like Man United just kept rolling forward. Martial did have an excellent game. I can't take anything away from how he performed. He was holding those defenders to the back the whole time. And yeah, even like the subs that Pep had to make, he had to try and get Walker in to add some injection and to actually do that thing where those fullbacks at Man City get into the centre mid position and start off play from there. And yeah, I think on the day, I'm blown away that Man United managed to get a result. Watching it, I couldn't believe that this was happening, because I was looking at Man United and it didn't look like a brilliant performance from a Man United perspective as well. It's just they did the right things at the right time, and you have to credit them for that, I think.
Yeah, fair play.
The most important thing is when we had the ball. I think that first 15-20 minutes of that first half, we could have scored more goals in that first 15-20. We came out guns blazing, got the goal, didn't just sit deep, still tried to attack. Obviously, Luke Shaw had a shot that was blocked, and had other chances where we were trying to create in those first 15. And then same thing happened. Second half also came out all guns blazing, and we stifled Man City. And I think Pep, he took off Cancelo because Cancelo was a weakness. He was a big weakness on the day. We were attacking on the left-hand side a lot. Martial obviously drifts to the left. Already there's Rashford on the left. And then Shaw was also, on the left-hand side. And we exposed Cancelo, especially in that second goal, where he tried to nick the ball off Shaw. And obviously, I think Pep saw and said, okay, no, let me get someone who's a bit quicker in Walker on the field. But, I think let other teams try and do the same against Man City. It should give Tuchel confidence Who else has to play him? Nick, Matt, you've already played him. Yeah, Claudio and Musa, you both need to still play Man City for the second time. Oh wait, sorry, you lost. Oh sorry, Claudio, you lost 4-1. Sorry. Tuchel, Thomas
Line me up
Tuchel
for
is
that
the
one.
only. Thomas, I forgot. Sorry, but I really forgot. I really did forget. Sorry, Thomas Tuchel is the only one in this panel that still needs to play them. And yeah, man, you've seen the blueprint, and he's a clever enough manager. I think he could beat Pep as well.
Yeah, figure that out. Yeah. Guys, Matt, I don't know. I want to talk about the conspiracy. That is Matt for any of the shows that we do. He tends to rock up when his side does really well. Not just well, really well. And I think in this case, Wonga Denga has been preaching it. He's been saying Bale's still the man for the Spurs. Top bins, as everyone knows. But so 4-1. 4-1. What a hell of a performance from Gareth Bale. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot that you're looking at when you're going. It's almost like Mourinho's comments saying, he might go. It's up to Real Madrid going back, like him going back there. It's almost like Bale going, fuck, no, I do not want to go back there. And that's kind of what's happening now.
Look, I mean, this has been coming. I mean, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that after when I came on the show after we lost to West Ham, just to quash the conspiracy theory. And
it's not only for the good times.
West Ham. Yeah. That second half against West Ham, I mentioned it on the call to say that it was different to the previous times where we'd lost because it felt like there was something different. And that game, Bale came on for the second half, and we were creating stuff and we were pushing, and it didn't end our way. We didn't end up getting the goals we needed, but it was a different shape of Spurs. And I remember saying then, like it was a frustrating result, but it was a different feeling that it had been. And since then, we've gone on this run, and Bale's been a big part of that. And I mean, this weekend it was phenomenal. It was the Bale and Kane show. They were, talk about top bins. It was Harry Kane's first goal that was just unspeakable. It was almost dirty. You shouldn't be able to do that. And it was a fantastic performance. What was also really good, really positive to see was we conceded that late goal right at the end of the first half. Obviously, given how the season's gone, very nervous, like, oh, now we're going to come out, we're going to struggle, we're really going to get tripped up. But 7 minutes into the second half, we're 3-1 up again. And it was just a great performance all around. The team really put it in. Obviously, Kane and Bale stole the headlines, but there was some great performances across the field. Reguilon, every time he plays, we look more dangerous. He really does such a good job getting down the left, putting in crosses, creating 100%. Chances. And he also pops up in spaces as well. He had a couple of shots of his own. He really makes space and does a lot of stuff. And Lucas Moura, I mean, that dude was phenomenal. He was like really pressing from the front. He created that first goal. And and he's just, I mean, I've always loved him. He's such a cool player. And obviously the hat trick in Amsterdam, obviously he's always going to be a fan favorite, but he is such a worker. He really just pushes the full night,
energy.
The full time he's on the field, he does everything. And Winks and Højbjerg, I was a little bit worried about Winks being on. He hasn't been playing a lot, and I always worry he's not quite as dynamic as like Sissoko or Ndombele, or he hasn't been this season, but he also had a really good performance. Him and Højbjerg side by side were really solid at the back. And I think even Doherty, he hasn't been on a lot lately, and he also had a really good game. So I think all in all, it was a really good performance. I was really pleased with the result, obviously. And I think it gives us a blueprint for how we could potentially end the season on a high. Obviously, talk of winning the league and stuff is long gone, but I think we've now got a serious chance to, if we continue to play like this and continue to use the players that we're doing well, we should be able to realistically get ourselves to top 4. And I think we have to make that work now. I think we've shown that we've got the quality to do it. And I really do want to see, I want to see more of Kane and Bale just banging them in. I remember I said at the beginning of the season, I must have said it every show, I just want to see Kane, Bale and Son on together. And, then for ages, I thought it was never going to happen. And now here it is, and it's beautiful. Like, I love it. I want it every day.
It's so exciting to see the intensity that Tottenham are playing at, man. Like the quality of the distribution, the quality of the passes, the involvement
and
of
the
so many players to get involved.
They know each other
nice.
so well. So the movement is so intelligent because they know where they need to be, and they all know where the other guy's going to be. So it's, I mean, and that comes off the training ground. And I know, for all Mourinho's faults, one thing he does do is drill sides a lot. So they all know where they need to run to make, and that shows. They make these runs, and the reason those passes end up looking so good is because they probably made the same pass 50 times on the training ground that week. And it's a thing of beauty to watch.
Yeah, see, it's funny you say that, Matt, because, and it's like looking when Tottenham had that just that slump in the season. You got a lot of people saying that Tottenham's brand of football was Yeah, the Mourinho who set up Tottenham was probably I think Paul Merson, in fact, he's the one that said that they actually play, what is it? He said the most unattractive football in the league. And I was really against that opinion because I think, but honestly, I think Spurs are just in a bad run of form. But when they win, it's definitely not unattractive. Even if they sit back and attack, the counter attack is something good to watch. It's not boring at all.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
And even now, watching them now in this match as well.
Didn't Mourinho come out recently and say people complain about our style of football, but we scored over 100 goals or something like that? I saw.
Yeah,
we hit 100 now. Yeah, we hit 100 now.
Yeah.
And
Pok the
I
pass,
think that's bang on.
Yeah,
no, we do create a lot, and it is our attacking play is nuts. We haven't unleashed it enough. I think during our slump we weren't creating enough chances, but when we do it, it does look good. I think the big test is coming. Obviously, we've got the North London derby next, and the good results we've had. There's always been that caveat of. I mean, you're talking to the real best team in Manchester here. You know, just watch yourself. You ain't won at 6-1 at Old Trafford this season.
Okay. I still have to come to your stadium, so you better watch your mouth, man.
We'll see. I'm more worried about Arsenal than you.
Wow!
I think
this guy.
It's going to be that'll be an interesting one because we've had some good results, but it's been there's always that caveat. I mean, obviously you can only play who's in front of you, but we did it against Burnley and Palace and fair enough, they're not sides who are really you'd expect to put up much of a fight. I think the Arsenal game is going to be far more interesting. Arsenal having dropped points at Burnley will be really up for it, and they'll want to prove a point, especially because we won the first meeting this season, so they're not going to want the double. And I think so that'll if we can go into that game with the same kind of mentality and just ping balls around the park and create some fantastic chances, that'll be great to see. I'm really excited for that. Nervous at the same time because it could all come undone and prove to be, all based on nothing. But still, it's back to feeling a little bit more excited to be a Spurs fan. I'm very happy.
Yeah, Matt, that's what it kind of felt like. The game kind of felt like a Pochettino side. It was end to end. They were really going forward, but they were still exposed at the back. And if we're going back to the first goal, I think for Mourinho's side, one thing he really needs to bring in a centre half. I think that's what you guys need. There's some sort of surety at the back. I think he was putting a lot of his eggs in the Dyer basket, and that seemed to have fallen apart. I mean, he was on bench on the weekend. So I think that's something he won't be happy with. But I think he's also going with the fact he's going, look, I do have these players. Bale's feeling good. Bale doesn't want to go back to Madrid. He really wants to stay, and I'd like to keep him. So let me unshackle these guys, and let's get the best out of them. And now all of a sudden they look like absolute world beaters, which is super, super frightening for the rest of the people in the league, especially for Arsenal coming up. I mean, out of all the games, maybe it's something Bale's really gearing himself up for. Is like he's worked his way for this Arsenal game. I don't know what it is. But if I'm an Arsenal fan right now, especially if I'm an Arsenal fan called Wonga, who absolutely idolizes Bale, I think I'm flipping bricks.
Top bends.
The reason Bale is hitting form, guys, is that the Euros are coming up. Wales have qualified. Bale loves playing for his country. He's setting himself up. Top fitness for the Euros. He wants to obviously do well for Wales, and he loves his country.
That adds up.
I mean,
maybe that's why
if we're just a training camp for him, I don't mind. Like,
maybe that's why he's been injured. Maybe that's what it's been. I think there's actually method to this madness. I actually think he's planned it. He's got in his personal trainer, and he's like, I'm going to get super fit. Even that when Mourinho's going, look, he's ruled himself unfit. I can't understand it. Maybe he's like, no. My personal trainer from Wales has said, no, I'm not ready yet. I need to save the games before the Euro. I think there's some sort of method there. I'm telling you, there's something in that.
Yep. Yeah.
He has to peak just in time. What's happening with Dele Alli? Because he's also been
making more appearances. Obviously, he played the Fulham game, and he played at Wolfsburger. I think he's being eased back into the side. I'd expect to see him play this week in Europe. We've got Zagreb coming up, which I think is going to be a good game. I'm sure Ali will be back for that. And he's also been playing really well. So he comes on and he's also been following the system. I know there were reports that he'd fallen out with Mourinho's style of things at the beginning of the season, which is understandable. He's a very kind of attacking, flair-minded player. But he came back and against Fulham, for example, a big part of his job was simply just hold the ball, defend, keep control of the game. and he did what was asked of him. So I think hopefully we'll see more of him, and it's a good redemption story, because I mean, you guys heard me talking about how sad it was to see him go, and I'd even said it would probably be better for him to leave and find football, because he's a player who deserves to play. So I still think there's potential that we'll lose him in the summer, because I think he'll be looking and thinking he wants to take the next step in his career. Just a place for him, and you know, he was in
He needs more appearances.
He deserves to be playing football. Yeah, he deserves to be playing football and enjoying football. I'd hate to see him stay at Spurs and not love the game. So, but while he's there, I hope he gets to play more and keep performing well. And I think that's what's exciting about us. You know, you look at Spurs now, and realistically, you know, those front 4 or 5 spots that you've got to fill, we've got a lot of players. I mean, just guys who came off the bench this week. You've got Lamela, Vinicius, and
Ndombele was on bench.
And yeah, Ndombele was benched. There's Lamela came off, and I mean, and
you guys see
Lamela
with a blanket. You see with a blanket.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And did you see him handing out blankets? Then when Kane came off and Kane's sitting there, he brings him a blanket. Like, come on, man, you're warm. So I think that it's good to see. You know, I think the squad's pulling together. I think the one thing Spurs has always had is a good squad spirit, and I think that's been there through before Mourinho, even before Poch. I think we've always been the kind of squad that's quite tight, and you very rarely hear about dressing room nonsense at Spurs. Maybe because in the past we've never had like those big characters, big massive players. We've never had the likes of a Cantona to come in and be divisive or whatever. But I think that shows. I think that helps when the squad pulls together, and when they do go through like those rough patches, when we come out the other side, it's that much sweeter, because then the squad pulls together and makes it happen. So yeah, it's positive. I mean, we've been here before with Spurs this season. It could still all come crumbling down. I'm you know, always got one hand on what could go wrong, but I think for now I'm certainly feeling better now going into a game against Arsenal now than I would have been sort of 2 weeks ago when we were really struggling to do anything. And so I think it is good that in a way Arsenal, it's kind of exciting that Arsenal are also in some good form. I mean, Burnley game aside, they've been playing some pretty good football, and I think it'll be a good game for and we haven't had a Spurs Arsenal game in a while where both sides have kind of looked dangerous going into it. It's always been one side. I mean, more recently it's usually been Spurs that have been the team that's in form, but it's always been kind of one side or the other looking dangerous.
Matt, before we move on here, you're 5 points from that 4th spot. You've got a game in hand. Realistically, are you managing your expectations, or do you think it's possible? Yeah, top 4 spot.
Look, I think we've got to go for it. I think mathematically it's more than possible. I think we've got to go there with the attitude that we can make it happen. It definitely won't be easy. We do have some tough games before the end of the season. We do also have to bear in mind that as much as we're flying and stuff, there's always a possibility that 1 or 2 key players could get injured, and then we're going to be in trouble. So you've got to manage the expectations in terms of not you know, I'm not going to bet money on it or whatever, but at the same time you've got to go for it. You've got to back yourself and say there's no reason that we can't do it. And I think the Arsenal game will be a big test in that regard. I think if we can take 3 points against Arsenal, then I'll feel very, very confident that we can go on and challenge for top 4.
One is disagreeing. One is not going to happen.
Doing that. but I mean, look, I think these are the things. If you're going to challenge for top 4, you've got to beat the sides that are sitting mid-table, and that's just how it's got to be done.
Mid-table club.
Mid-table club. Mid-table comment.
Guys, we've got a new viewer called Chinsei Deresi. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Apologies if I get. It says
Chinsei Deresi.
Deresi says Manchester may be red. Manchester may be red, but England will be sky blue. Ooh,
he has a point.
Okay.
Yeah, would you rather take? That's a good question, Silla. Would you have gladly lost the derby if it meant winning the league?
Yes.
Of course.
Of course, yes.
And that's probably how they all feel now. Like watching you guys dance down the street after the game, they're like, "Oh."
But it's like Everton beating Liverpool at Anfield, celebrating like they've won the Champions League because it's been like a 20-something year wait. I mean, that's a shame.
Oh no! Now you're just saying Manchester United just like Everton. That's harsh. Come on.
So disrespectful. So disrespectful. You know, he needs to go and check who's got the most titles.
Yeah. Okay.
Check the stats.
No, we can also talk about the European titles. It depends which titles we're talking about, but let's not go down that path.
This show is a Premier League show, and always will be a Premier League show. Come on.
Not always. Not always.
Stop
It won't
saying that.
always
Make
be
it feel
But
bad.
next season might be a Premier League Sky Bet Championship Premier League show. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, man.
I have to accommodate Nick, gents.
Easy, gents. Easy. I'm very fragile at the moment.
No, you'll have to rearrange the cameras so you can have all of us in a row and just have Nick peering from the background.
Matt, can't you speak to Spurs and get that blanket that Mbele was wrapped around and give it to Nick and make comfort him a little bit as well, maybe? I think that's
Keep the lad warm for the whole season.
Moose, big Moose, Musa, Al-Magico. Listen, 2-0 against Everton. This was a big game because all of a sudden Everton started believing, they can push for Europe. This was one that had to be won. In my opinion, it had to be won for momentum, for rhythm, for all these things we tend to say, these abstract sort of whatever concepts.
And for Liverpool fans. Let's be honest, it had to be one, and for Liverpool fans.
And for fans, they have to say it.
Yeah. In the end,
yeah, man, I think...
tell us this game, man. Speak to us. I mean, we know Timo Werner is still struggling, but...
Timo Werner is still struggling, but his other German connection is doing very, very well at this point in time. It's been a while since we've seen Kai Havertz performing at that level, and it's exciting, man. It's exciting to see him playing at that center attacking forward type of role, which he's done very, very well in the past in Germany. But it has been a little bit more challenging for him over the course of this season at Chelsea. And it seems like having the manager in, even the manager took a couple of weeks to actually field him and actually give him the opportunity to play. And I think the manager needed him to be on his tip-top performance before giving him the opportunity. So, yeah, exciting. Look at form, look at clean sheet, look at the ability to put new players into the field, rotate the squad. Everything's good at Chelsea at the moment. Players like Thiago Silva are now coming back onto the bench. Kai Havertz is coming on to play, start, and then create a master performance. Timo Werner, yes, his scoring boots aren't on, but he's still so active and he's still getting in all the right positions. I wish we could see him score 2 or 3 goals over the next 3 games. Then we'd really have a fight at it. We'd really have a fight at it. Our past 2 weeks have been good. To get a result against Man United and then to take this result against Everton means that we are putting ourselves into
contention. You just say then they'll have a real good fight at it. I mean, I think they're fighting at it right now. I don't even think it's an if and but. If not, I think they're favourites to get the Champions League spot. And then I'd even ask you, do you think they're even a favourite to win a trophy this season, whether it be FA Cup or whether it be Champions League?
I think FA Cup, look, Champions League, I was mightily surprised regarding our performance against Spain's best team at the moment. So I was very, very impressed by Tuchel's performance there to get the guys to do what they do. And yes, we may go through if we do keep the performance up against Atletico Madrid. But I do still believe that to win Champions League is a very challenging ask. And especially in a season where you're getting a new manager coming in halfway in. Maybe it's a reflection of how we did it the first time.
Yeah, but also
coming in.
Think about it. He also finished in the final last season, the manager. Yeah. So he's also got a point to prove there where he's going, look, I've gotten a taste for what it feels like to make it all the way, apart from picking up the trophy. So maybe a bit of an underdog story in this sort of context when you've got the likes of Bayern Munich still in the competition, but maybe that's something he might personally be backing himself because I love seeing him on the sidelines. I love seeing him. He's got that passion. He's got that energy. You can literally see 100% there's conviction in everything that he says. He genuinely believes it. And I think that's coming across with the players. And I think that's where the players, the large chunk of the squad seem directionless. I think they now have the rudder when he's steering it. I don't know, Musa. What do you think?
Yeah, and he's given a platform for a lot of new players to put their hands up, like players like Marcus Alonso, players like Hudson-Odoi. They're now featuring a little bit more under Thomas Tuchel. He even had comments about Emerson and other players that are were seen as not part of the plans. Seems like because they're working hard at training, they're performing very, very well. The coach is keeping that in his mind and he's putting that commentary forward to the world, it must be super exciting to be any of those players in this Chelsea squad at the moment because they know if they look sharp, if they perform well at training, they can put their hands up to actually get into the squad, and the squad is doing really well. No matter the rotations that do take place. Yes, we lost Thiago Silva a couple of weeks back. We had to change a few things between Kante and Jorginho, but we never lost any of that rhythm. And it's super exciting to see the manager actually come out with that.
When is Werner scoring again?
That might be Santi's hair. Like, what if he scores a goal and then they never win again? Like,
it might mess things up.
I wouldn't risk it. Don't even let him score. Stop passing to him.
You know what surprised me yesterday?
You're a non-goal scoring striker. You're just like Bobby Firmino.
Defensive striker.
Defensive striker.
What surprised me yesterday? There was a set piece, a corner which they took, which was straight from the training ground, and the end of that set piece was to get to Werner for him to slot it in like Kane, and that was.
It was dreams. It went like there, bro. I was like, "Oh, guys, really? Couldn't you guys do someone else? Or maybe the training ground exercises to have Mount at the end of it, and then they forgot he was out of the field, and it was like, "Oh, Werner, you have to be the guy." And like,
maybe on the training ground they just use a cone, and they were like, "Look, Werner, all you got to do is stand still like this cone."
Here.
And then afterwards, what is it? Like, maybe under his shirt, he's still got the Hawaiian shirt tucked in. Like, he's just not living in
But I've been seeing stuff like that, you know. That was like, it's been very few times over the season where we've seen like those training ground set pieces from Chelsea because of the nature of how Frank Lampard was managing versus how Tuchel's managing now. And it was nice to see that, like, there's actually some kind of coordinated activities taking place in the background, which is, refreshing.
Coordinated activities like your favorite PE teacher. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Matt's like, PE, I never went to that. What do I went to the sport? I just watched it. I don't know. Guys. So on that note, I mean, you're talking about Bobby Firmino, defensive strike. One of the things that I think might be a blessing in this sort of scenario is that he is actually injured for tomorrow's game, so he's not going to make an appearance. I think Jota's it's good in a way because now Jota gets to have his fun in the sun with your Manes and your Salahs. So let's see what happens from that perspective. But before we go, guys, that pretty much wraps up the show. I do want to say we have reached 100 subscribers on YouTube. So
how many do you have in total? Because I do remember last week when I was playing indoor soccer, I made someone subscribe, and I think they were the 100th person.
I think they might have. So please get them on, and please tell them that we'll give them a special shout out here because they were the 100th. And our target. You know where our target is. Sky's the limit here. Talking Sundowns talk with Nick over there. But
did you guys talk about that with Nick?
Yeah, we
did.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And I'll catch the video tomorrow.
Yeah. No. We needed you in that conversation because you're actually the one that brought the. Listen, guys, just in case you didn't know, Celo does a lot of the financials and the books and things like that. But apart from that, guy's also our investigative journalist, and he knows exactly what's going on. He's on the ground all the time.
Finger on the pulse.
Guys, I did all of these different things to bring me some extra cash. I think then I'll even put more energy into it, and I'll break some stories. Tell you. Get footage of Nick at the training ground. You know what I mean? Get footage of Matt breaking the window at home.
Going over while he's doing his job there.
What's happening with Barcelona and Messi though? Is Messi staying?
Messi's gonna stay, guys.
Man, guys, Messi just likes the stories, man. He just likes being center attention.
The former president is back at the helm, guys. He's gonna stay. The guy who appointed Pep is back, so I think he's going to stay. But interesting part is who's going to be the coach. I think he said he's going to let Koeman continue if Koeman does well. So he'll assess at the end of the season if Koeman does well, because initially it was Xavi supposed to come back and be the coach. But if Koeman does well, Koeman be the guy.
Yes, they'll chow him. Yeah. If they let him go, they've chowed him.
Xavi can come in as an assistant and then manage it.
But guys, Koeman was doing the business there for Netherlands, for Amsterdam. They were doing the things there. They were competing, He had a good side, and now all of a sudden, one season's like goodbye Euros, goodbye for Madrid.
Guys, it's like if you ask now, if Newcastle came in and say, "Hey Nick, we heard about you from that you're a Newcastle supporter. You would help us from relegation." Do you think Nick will say no? Nick will never say no to the job. He will take the first flight to what's his to the Toon army, and he'll be trying to help them. He'll be on the training ground there, telling Richie, "Hey Richie, don't fucking fight with me. Let's go.
Stop fighting me.
You'll say, Darlow, you starting. Dubravka, you benching now. I don't know why Dubravka's coming back. Darlow, you're the number one. You're the best keeper in England. Let's go. Carroll, you starting at number 9. Dwight Gale behind. I can see his formation already.
You've made a miscalculation.
It's just Stevie Bruce won't allow all of this nonsense to take place.
No, not even Steve Bruce. Not even Steve Bruce. He said, Richie, stop fighting. You forget the man's from Fourways. Nick will roll up his sleeves and start fighting. You'll fight for that.
You'll be fighting with him.
Yeah. Right, guys.
I'll get stuck into him.
On that note, final thoughts before we leave.
Oh yes, the last question there. See, what do you guys think about Kane? I think Kane, if Kane wants to win anything, at least when Steven Gerrard was at Liverpool, he won the Champions League. So at least, and he won the FA Cup. At least he won something. Kane has won 0.
No, wait.
He has to leave.
Season's not over. Season's not over. He can still win something this season.
Yes,
even if
he can win the League Cup or the Europa League. Yes, he can. I'm not saying he can't.
Fine. But what if Bale
this season? Bale has won 4 Champions Leagues.
Yeah, look, I think I think we'll probably get one more season out of him at least. I don't think he'll leave this summer. Or if he does, it'll be to go on holiday, but he'll come back. He'll come
back.
But come back. But I think we'll, at some point, if we don't start winning the big stuff, I think we'll lose him. And fair play to him. He's a generational talent. He deserves to have some medals, So I don't know. It'll be a tough one. It'll be a tough one.
He's 28, right? He's 28, right?
He's growing older now, and for the past three or 4 seasons, he's been literally firing on all cylinders. He kind of deserves some type of support.
Okay, but fine, guys. Say he leaves. Where does he go? Out of which
Real Madrid boy.
But does he go there and be successful?
Yeah, he will be successful.
100%.
Yeah.
He has to, guys. He's
a lot more successful than
surely
he needs to leave.
Tottenham.
He needs to go.
I agree. They can't win Champions League with Sterling, guys. Sterling has played 23 matches against Manchester United and scored 0 goals. How can you rely on a person who misses against
Well, I mean, they're probably relying on the fact that United aren't in the Champions League, so they don't need to play against them to win it.
There you go. So a little shot fired.
This guy. I can't wait to play Tottenham now. I can't wait to play Tottenham.
This time it'll be 1-6.
I'm gonna be the guy who's even preparing them for the training session. I'm gonna be having the training session 2 days before Tottenham. I can't wait. I'm gonna pop up the guys. Pop up the team. Pop up the guys. Guys, you need to beat this team. Only reason why is because Matt speaks too much, and then sign Kane at the end of the season.
That's
but you're gonna pop up lads like Fred and McTominay. Ooh, scary.
Pogba will be back. Pogba's is a week or 2 away from being back.
We'll see. That's going to be a fun one. I look forward to it.
Right, guys. Teresi, thank you very much for the questions. Come back, and we loved your questions actually. So you'll keep us going if you come back. We'll Tuesday, Thursday, we live. Yeah.
And send a voice something, and just so we can pronounce the name right. We don't want to mess up the pronunciation.
Yeah, please, man. We are.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we're also on Twitter, so you guys can follow us there. We're also on Instagram, so if anyone else wants to follow us, don't forget to follow us. And also, Deresi, so we can pronounce your name correctly somehow and get that voice note to us. Yeah. And what?
And Saudi's going to run a competition soon if you're a Man City supporter, so just watch out for it.
Yeah. So keep your eyes out.
There we go.
Yeah, guys, and if you don't know what to be
cool.
Be cool.
Yeah, have a good evening, everybody. Enjoy the football. Peace.
Cheers, guys.